Welcome to Just Ask George, the program where we explore the entire world of structured finance. I'm here with none other than George Lovato. You are the founder and president of BH Capital Limited, aren't you, sir?
The original dude.
He's the original dude, an expert, one of the sharpest minds in structured finance. This program, this series is all about helping you, the small business owner, the large business owner, mid-size, all-size businesses, very large deals, some very, very large, that you work with within the framework of BH Capital.
Absolutely, and you didn't mention Three-Way Naked Productions as the producing company of Just Ask George.
And I must tell you that, like he just said, Three-Way Naked Productions is the production company for Just Ask George.
It's a free plug, in case anybody wants to know how this sign got up on the wall.
We'd like to begin, George, wouldn't we, with the top deal you are working on now. What is the top deal you're working on now at BH Capital?
Cielo Azul, retirement condominiums. 4.5 years in the making. And it's sort of a double arc story going on there. One was a $30 million project starting from ground zero and coming to fruition, getting to the point where it's shovel ready, and it is now in the process of pre-selling its condominiums. Already has 16 sales on the books. Probably about 6 months from actually throwing dirt around and putting concrete in the ground and all that good stuff. But more importantly, which I think is a unique story in and of itself, is just Jack Booth, and having worked for some of the biggest companies in healthcare management in the world, never having started or run his own business before, getting into a position where he is the chief cook and bottle washer and has really done everything from start to finish.
That's quite amazing when I'll say a non-entrepreneur turns into an entrepreneur. And you witnessed the shift in Jack, didn't you, as he went into this and embarked on this journey?
Yeah, it was a neat thing to watch. There was a lot of supervision in the beginning on the simplest of things, and over the 4.5 years, you've seen him become a more mature entrepreneur. You've seen him become a more mature business manager. You've seen him be able to multitask in a whole different way than he ever has before, because it's not about managing a pre-existing business. It's about building a business and getting it ready to launch. And that's precisely what happened here. So it was really a neat process to watch.
Okay. And there were, as I recall, we've talked about this deal to some extent offline. This was a case where I think Jack was coming with certain parts of information in sort of a very global way. And one of the themes I recall, as you tell the story, is he really, you encouraged him to really peel the layers of the onion back, as you would say, and get to the details in all of the projections and all of the planning pieces, right?
Just a funny little story. I love telling it. And I tell it, I'm not saying anything out of school where I wouldn't say it in front of him. But I had asked him for some projections, and he'd given me a half a sheet of paper and said, over 3 years, this is where we're going to be. And I said, Jack, how did you get there? And it's just all in his head. I mean, having been in the business for 30 years, you know the basics. So many things happen by algebraic momentum and inertia in your head that it comes out.
Yeah, it's part of it.
I said, Jack, we can't raise a dime by these numbers. We really got to drill down to the detail. I mean, I need to know down to the hourly employee that we're going to use in each division of the
It's very granular.
Operation. Yeah, very granular. And he came back about 3 weeks later and had one of the, if not the most detailed budget and projection I've ever seen. And it was down to that hourly employee.
He totally responded to your direction on that.
Absolutely.
Right.
And he knew how to do it.
Right.
He was giving me a summary in his mind, and the numbers weren't off from that half a page, the detail compared to the half a page by 0.1%. It was really something.
We should talk about the business model, too. Isn't there something very unique about the business model itself and the way this development is being developed from a marketing standpoint?
He is targeting the community at middle income. So if you look at where the market sits, there's the tremendously financially capable and the not so capable at the other end of the spectrum. But the fastest growing segment is in the middle income retirees. 10,000 people a day are turning 65. So when you look at those three different points in the demographic, the middle income being the largest singular segment, there's nothing out there for them. And that's where this community is targeted. So very uniquely positioned, a pre-sale program. I see this all the time. I've got this condominium project I want to build, and okay, fine, what have you pre-sold? Well, we haven't pre-sold anything. Build it and they'll come. We need to build it first so that people can see it and then they'll buy it. Well, lenders just don't do that anymore. It's not Field of Dreams any longer. Yeah. And you do have to pre-sell, and that's precisely what happened here. Is he's now in the pre-sell mode. He's doing an exceptionally good job. He understands marketing. He understands how to sell to seniors. He understands what they're looking for to feel secure in this type of environment. He's really a full-range manager when it comes to this. He can manage, he can market, and he can sell. And
you're going through a process now of capital formation. Does the pre-sell process actually serve to get that first equity on the balance sheet? Because it's pre-revenue, and so is that where the initial equity comes from? Is this initial pre-sale thing?
A lot of things have to happen before you can raise any money, and this is another sort of humorous story, in that in the beginning he said, well, all you have to do is go through your Rolodex, and then you can raise all the money you want to raise by calling your friends, family, former enemies. And I said, well, that may be true, Jack, but still they need to know what they're investing in. And so we need, one, a story and an illustration of what this is going to look like. And then over and above that, we need a structure in which they invest in.
Yes.
And so I put those tools together. He put the other part together. And we raised a little less than $1.5 million in equity. Friends, family, former enemies of mine, and I showed him actually the process in which it is involved in raising capital. And he was the lead pitch man and go out there and drag. He was the dragon slayer. He really did a fantastic job. And of course, his family invested, and some of his friends, and some of his former enemies. And before you know it, he was on a roll there for about a year where. He was looking for. He was so into raising capital. I said, Jack, we don't need any more. We're okay. And we had a second round of financing, and the deal was structured so that you can go back to the well with the existing investors.
Okay.
And we were able to pull in an institutional investor. I won't mention their name, but
right, exactly.
They were very interested for a host of reasons. But there again, Jack went back to using those tools that he was just taught, and it was like flipping a switch. Boom, he went forward, he raised more money, and we're considering a small round, just pre-construction, which is not very much money, but it's sort of the story's over now. I mean, we're there, where it's going to get built, and this is sort of where I go through a transition.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of in this zone where I like teaching, and I like doing, and I like showing the guys. I like structuring, and I like molding. The silly putty becomes the Da Vinci
right. It's
sculpture.
It's the art of structured finance, really creating the building blocks and the architecture.
And part of my role is that I'm going to stay on as the consulting CFO, the CFO, whatever the
virtual,
the little yellow guy on Jack's shoulder, making sure the money goes in the right holes and so on.
Sure.
And so the excitement for me, although it's going to be fun to see the project go vertical, this was the fun part for me.
The process.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The top story of the day, brought to you by BH Capital. You can find BH Capital at www.bhcapitalltd.com. Isn't that right, George?
That's the spot. That's where you need to go.
We're glad to hear. We'll have another top deal of the day when we do our next show next Friday.
We'll be podding next Friday.
Indeed. So join us then. George, thanks as always.
Thanks, Dave. Great job.
All right.